Hey, folks. Today I want to review the results of four viewer polls where you, the viewers, weighed in on questions that were interesting to me. Each had four possible answers, and I'll reveal each answer in reverse order from number four to number three, and then the top two will get revealed simultaneously. And then I'll weigh in on what I would have voted for. So let's get started with our first question, and that is what G1 Transformers weak spot is the hardest to repair? These are all topics we've covered on the channel. We've got some classics, so Mirage's Waist, Swoop's Beak, Whitening of Jazz, and that would apply to Red Alert, Jetfire, Ratchet, a lot of toys that go really yellow. Then we've got Prowl's Windshield, which would also account for Blue Streak and Smokescreen's Windshield. So let's see number four. And in fourth place, we've got Jazz's Yellowed Plastic with 0% of the vote. So it sounds like we've got some pretty strong confidence out there that we can deal with these problems. I agree, whitening is not that hard. The peroxide method, the cream based methods, they take a little bit of elbow grease, but they're fairly straightforward and they're very effective. And number three is Prowl's Windshield with 20% of the vote. I'm surprised that's so low, actually. This one's a pretty tough repair if you want to do it well. The placement and kind of positioning of the windshield is difficult. It involves drilling and sinking some pins, which is really close quarters work, actually. It's quite precise. You don't have a lot of plastic to work with. You do need some specialized tools, but you can do an amazing job if you put in the effort. You could also do the easy approach, which is to put a dab of glue on there and just stick it on. It's not as resilient, as you transform it, it'll likely break again, and the glue does take up a lot of space. So sometimes the fitment's not quite right, but it is easier, and I've done it before. So maybe that's what you all had in mind when you voted this one so low. And now revealing the top two, we've got Swoop in second place with 28% of the vote. I think I see where you all were coming from. The repair itself is not that hard if you have a replacement piece, which is mainly the issue. You can't find a replacement piece; they're practically impossible to source. You got a much better chance of just finding a Swoop that was never broken. But once you have the piece, it's not too hard to pop it back on. Um, there are 3D printed options out there now, so if you're okay with it not being totally authentic, vintage parts, then you have an option there. And then in first place, we've got Mirage's Waist, and it's pretty hard to argue with that one. The actual waist repair itself is not that hard. There are simple approaches. You can just put a screw and a nut in there, but to do a real clean job, there's that fantastic toy polloi method that I've used using Lego parts. That takes a little bit of fine tuning, filing and cutting, just to get the fitment exactly right. And these days, I find the hardest part of the Mirage repair is actually just disassembling him because his upper body, that blue plastic shell, is so brittle, especially those little tabs at his shoulders. So sometimes you've got a toy that's in otherwise decent shape. You just want to fix the waist, but you break it when you're disassembling it. So I've had that happen to me more than once. I'm getting a lot better at safely repairing Mirage, but I think I see where you're coming from here. If I were to pick my vote for this question, I would probably go with Prowl's Windshield because I do like to do that very carefully and get a really nice clean job, and it takes a lot of fine, drilling and fitment. So I really enjoy that job, but it does take a bit of practice. And moving on to our second question, it is which is the most surprisingly clever bit of engineering? And we've got four really interesting components that have been covered in various videos. We've got Wheeljack's springless ratchets down in his shins. You've got Hound's automorphing head, how it just pops up when you transform him. Perceptor's working microscope, and then Topspin's jump delay timer, that thing that makes it possible for him to roll for a few feet and then spring up. And in fourth place, with only 4% of the vote, is Wheeljack's springless ratchets. Now, I think that's a really interesting design. There's no flat or coiled metal spring, it's just a plastic pawl. It's similar in design to what you might see in certain wristwatches, where a pawl is used to advance a gear. Ratchets in G1 Transformers is an interesting topic of its own. I'll probably do a video one day on the various ratchet designs you see out there. You would have thought, or I would have thought, that there would be some standard design that you see repeated over and over in the toys. It's not the case. They all have these very, very different designs, different elegant solutions to the same problem. In third place, we've got Topspin's jump delay timer with 21% of the vote. And it's a really sophisticated mechanism, although a well established one. There's a gear reduction involved, there's some slip clutches involved, and there's this cam that rotates into a starting position. And as it unwinds more slowly than the drive wheels, which is why a couple of feet will pass before he jumps into action. Right as that cam whips around, it knocks a hook loose, and then his legs can unwind. So I find it a really fascinating design, but I can understand why he's not very high rated. I doubt Topspin has ever been at the top of any poll for any reason. So I assume that's probably what was going on there. And we're at our top two. And in second place is Perceptor's working microscope with 29% of the vote. Anything having to do with optics is amazing. Similarly, if it's got to do with radio or signal processing, I also find that amazing. So this was a pretty sophisticated feature of one of those early toys, and it does work. I've stuck my eye up to it, and you can see it zoom. And if you adjust that knob, you can actually see it zoom more or less. According to the sticker on his arm, it claims a 14x magnification. And in first place with 46% of the vote, we've got what must be the fan favorite here. It's Hound's automorphing head. I agree. I agree. I probably would have picked this one too. It's not the most sophisticated design. It doesn't have to be. In fact, it's really simple and effective, which might be what makes it so clever. And I remember, playing with this when I was a kid, and I would see that head emerge from the hood, and it was so amazing to me. And opening it up one day when I started repairing these toys, it gave me a renewed appreciation for the design to see how it actually worked. And it's nothing more than a lever, right? It's just a lever that pushes the head up into place. It's perfectly suited to the job. And let's move on to our next question. Which is the most obscure topic we've covered? And if you follow the channel, you'll know we do some pretty deep cuts. The options here are World's Smallest Transformers Ravage, the smallest official Transformer ever made. We've got the hidden cockpit of Hot Rod. We've got the St. Louis Test Market McDonald's Happy Meal toys, which were only around in one region for one season and then disappeared. And then we've got the prehistory animal Dinobots, which were Taiwanese knockoffs contemporary to the original Dinobots, but of incredible quality. And in fourth place, with 12% of the vote, we've got World's Smallest Transformers Ravage. Can't say I'm too surprised by that. He's not exactly common knowledge, but compared to what he was up against, it's a pretty tough field. And in third place, with 26% of the vote, we've got the St. Louis Test Market Happy Meal Transformers. I really like these because I had one as a child. And so, as an adult collector, I completed the collection. These were so minimally available just in geography and time. It is pretty hard to get them. You can find them, and they cost you a lot of money, and they don't do much too. So there's a certain cognitive dissonance there in spending a lot of money to chase down these hard to find figures, but they also are terrible toys. And revealing our top two, we've got a tie for first place with 31% of the vote each between Hot Rod's hidden seats and shift knob. That's that cockpit under his windshield. And the prehistory animal Dinobots. Those are the detailed, high quality Taiwanese knockoffs that were contemporary to the original Dinobots. It's a tough call. I see why this is such a neck and neck tie. And actually, the Happy Meal Transformers are right there too. This poll is an interesting one because I grabbed these results when it was already a month old, but the top position is still being traded amongst those top three, including the Happy Meal Transformers. So they're kind of jockeying for position. So in a statistical sense, I'd probably just call this a three-way tie. But among those top two, it's also really hard for me to split the difference. I think I probably would give the tie to the prehistory animal Dinobots. They're just so special and so good, but so unknown, right? Unless you lived in Asia or visited Asia, you probably would not have encountered them. The hot rod cockpit is also amazing to me, um, but you would never have known about it unless you broke your toy. Fact is, though, a lot of us did break the toy. So hopefully, those of us with that experience were rewarded by that little discovery. And now we've reached our last question, which was among all of these Optimus Primes that we had covered on the channel, which of these would be at the top of your want list? And we've got the original masterpiece Optimus Prime. There is the Robot Masters Optimus Prime, the G1 Power Master Optimus Prime, and then the more recent Hot Wheels Mattel Creations Optimus Prime. And in fourth place, with only 2% of the vote, maybe that was a protest vote, I don't know. We've got Robot Masters Optimus Prime. I can understand that considering what he's up against, but he is a really interesting toy, considering his place in history. He was among the first of the Legends scale toys, and he was an attempt to achieve more of a cartoon model representation of the toy. The paint is beautiful. It just so happens that the truck mode is absolutely hideous. It's really among the worst of the truck modes. And in third place with a surprisingly low 24% is the original masterpiece Optimus Prime. I have to say I'm surprised by that. This is an amazing piece, but also in the context of history, such a milestone piece, right? It kicked off Masterpiece, which is this long-running line that also branched off into third-party companies, competing with their own sophisticated designs. This thing just set the bar so high for articulation, for screen accuracy, for paint, and even for accessories. This one came with his energy axe, right? So an incredible toy. I'm surprised it didn't rate higher, but hey, the people have spoken. And we've reached our top two. And in second place, we've got Hot Wheels Optimus Prime from Mattel Creations with 31% of the vote. Hard to argue with that. That toy is absolutely stunning. It's almost perfect replica of the original G1 toy, but downsized and more die-cast than the original. It's a beautiful toy, and it has that amazing packaging feature where you can display it in both modes in box. It comes with two different bubbles that accommodate both configurations and a background, like backdrop for your little diorama setup. So really incredible recent entries. So nice to see some recent entries appearing on the list. And in first place with 43% of the vote, we've got the G1 Power Master Optimus Prime. Pretty hard to argue with that. It is an incredible toy. It's G1 too, so maybe there's a sort of fan favorite aspect to it. Great accessories, great modes. It's a super robot. So I'm with you there. I hear you. I think if I had to pick, though, I would probably go with the Masterpiece Optimus Prime. I think I'd go with MPO1. Power Master Prime would be a really close second for me, though. They're both outstanding. They both have a really pivotal role in the history of Transformers, at least in my mind. And, with Power Master, I actually had that as a child, so I've got a lot of fond memories of it. So that's our review of four recent viewer polls. Thanks to everyone who participated. I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly did. Had some surprising results and also some not so surprising results. If you like this sort of thing, take a look at the other videos on the channel. We cover design details and trivia and repair techniques, all the kinds of things that you saw represented in those polls. And if you'd like to chip in to help me acquire more broken toys for a future project, there's a link for that in the description. Say hi in the comments. Let me know if you would have voted this way or if you might have been rooting for one of the underdogs. As always, I hope you found this information useful, and we'll see you next time.